Jeremy, in version 2.2 and later of GNS3, what does the GNS3 architecture look like? I mean, we've spoken briefly in the past about like there's a client and there's a VM, but can you talk more about the components and the different processes that run within sort of the GNS3 architecture?
Sure, totally. I can show you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So as David told you, we have a client and a server package.
Yep.
So in GNS3 you have clients. A client can be the web UI or the current desktop UI. Can also be any script that's using a API will talk to the server.
Okay. So it's a REST API, yeah?
Yes, a REST API.
Yeah.
So any client can talk to the server using the REST API. REST API. And that's the server. And to be more specific, this is a controller.
So that's like a process running somewhere.
This is a process that can run in the GNS3 VM, in a remote server, or locally on your machine. So the controller, and then the controller talks to the GNS3 server that we call compute. So in one controller can control multiple computes.
Okay, so this is just to make sure I understand. This is a client.
Yeah.
This is like could be a Windows client, it could be a Linux client, could be a Mac client.
Yes.
It's talking using a REST API to the controller process, which could be running either on the client, so on your PC, or it could be running on the GNS3 VM.
Yes.
Now, in this example, I'm assuming you've got 3 GNS3 VMs because you've got 3 server processes.
Yeah, it could be could be VMs here, or could be remote servers.
Okay. So, I mean, this could be running on ESXi.
That could be ESXi.
This could be on like
Hyper-V
or Hyper-V, and this could be like even in the cloud.
Like in the cloud, yes.
As long as you've got IP connectivity.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. So, I mean, this is the compute process.
Yes.
And then on these, we've got server processes. Is that right?
Yes. Actually, I should just...
Yeah, just change it. That's fine.
Right, the controller. That's a controller, and that's the VMs with the server inside.
So I know you've only got one hand, so let me hold here. So we've got like server process running here.
Yes.
Here we've got a controller process. The server process runs or has to run within the GNS3 VM. Is that right?
Can be the GNS3 VM or remote server or anywhere else. Like.
Okay. So when you talk about a remote server, how is that different to a GNS3 VM?
So the GNS3 VM is meant to be run with VMware, Hyper-V, or it can be also in the cloud with ESXi. A remote server can be a bare metal server.
Oh, okay. So that's the difference. Yeah.
Yes.
So this could be a bare metal. This could be bare metal on packet or on a server that you've got.
Yes.
This could be running in ESXi in our example, and this could be Hyper-V or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got 3 GNS3 server processes, 2 in VMs, 1 on bare metal server. We've got this controller. Where does the controller run? Does it run on all of these, or does it like select one of them?
So the controller can run on the same host as a client.
Yep.
Or it can run in any server or any of those VMs.
Yep.
But they can only be one controller.
Okay, so there's one of these. Here you could have multiple clients, couldn't you? Because I could have a Windows client. Here I could have a Mac client. So there could be many here. And I could have a Linux client as an example. So multiple clients that all use the REST API to the controller. Is that right?
Yeah, the controller is like the decision point.
Like a brain,
like the brain of
Okay.
of GNS3.
And that could run on a client?
That could run on the same host as a client.
But would be better to run it on one of your
It
servers.
would be better to run it on a server, yes.
And then you select perhaps the most powerful server.
Yeah, you can do this. Like you can select the most powerful server.
But by default, GNS3 just chooses something.
Yes.
So this gets run on one of them, but you can manually change it to go on, say, the bare metal server. So put this process
you can
on
manually
here.
decide to run it here, yes.
So physically, you've got a Windows computer, Mac, Linux. This is actually a process that's running either in ESXi, in the GNS3 VM, or on Hyper-V, or on the bare metal server. Now, here we've got 3 servers. Are there any other things? How does that interact with Dynamips or Qemu or etc.?
So each server will control emulators.
Yep. So inside here, as
Yes.
part of this, you have emulators, which would be Dynamips, would it?
Dynamips or Qemu. So the servers are in charge of managing the emulators, like starting the emulator, creating the actual VM, like the actual host, node, I mean.
So these are emulators.
Yes.
And you would have the same kind of thing here. You'd have multiple emulators on each of these servers, yeah?
Yes.
And the emulators actually run the Cisco operating system or whatever operating system you're using. Is that correct?
This is correct, yes.
So inside here, you've actually got iOS V Layer 2, Juniper,
whatever, etc.
Okay, well, I mean,
actually,
that's a bad
will run
example.
with
That should run
Qemu,
in
yes.
Qemu.
Yeah.
So that would be
iOS classic.
yes,
image.
like a 7200 image would run in there. That Cisco viral images, as an example, would run in Qemu. They are controlled by the server process. So this is local.
Yes.
This is local. This is local. This thing is on one of those. And then what kind of interface are they using here?
So we also use a REST API. So REST API, but this one is an internal REST API. Only the controller is supposed to use this API to talk to the servers.
Okay, so this API exposed? So
this
in other
this
words,
one
is it
is public, so anyone can use it. You can create a script that uses API to create GNS3 projects or controlled GNS3 projects.
Okay, so you could write a Python script or something,
Yes.
and that could be another client into the controller. And you've told me previously when we've spoken before that you could write your own client.
Yes, you could also write your own console client, for instance.
Yeah, so some guys have asked about that. So you could write your own console client or Python script or something that interacts with the controller using the REST API.
Yeah.
And this is all internal.
Yes, all this is internal, so all of this is not exposed.
So again, we've got three physical clients running, let's say, the Windows executable. So that's your thick client. Now, what about the web client?
So the web client will come here, for instance.
So that's just another client.
Yeah,
let's put it up here.
Yes, no small space.
Yeah, so we've got the web UI. Yeah.
Yes, the web UI will come here, and the web UI also use a REST API to talk to the GNS3 controller.
And one of the advantages you were telling me previously of that model is if you make a change here, like you drag a device into your topology, it's actually just doing a REST call, isn't it?
Yes, it's doing a REST call. Then the controller creates, for instance, a node on one of the server, but also replicates the information to the other clients who open the same project. So, for instance, we have the web UI here and the desktop UI. They open the same project, and if you create a node here, the controller will inform the web UI, oh, there's a new node there, and you will see the node appear in the web UI.
Okay, so yeah, so everything's replicated. So if I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clients, if the Windows guy adds a new node and connects it, say with a link to another node, that's replicated. And
Yes.
all of these in real time will be able to see that change.
And to do this, we have WebSockets notifications to every client.
So is it web sockets?
That's called WebSockets.
Okay.
That's like a notification stream.
Yep.
So each client has a notification stream, so the controller can tell every client there is a change in the project.
Great. Anything else you want to tell us about the architecture? Anything else that's important?
Yes. So to connect, for instance, we have a node running on this VM and a node running on this bare metal server.
Yep.
So how can a node from here can communicate with this node here?
Out of space here. So I mean, so in other words, there's some kind of connection between these two, yeah?
Yes,
Oh,
there's a
that's
connection.
very bad red pen, so we'll have to use another color. So, yeah, just use blue. So there's some kind of connection logically here.
Exactly.
And what's doing that?
So there's a small program called ubridge.
Oh, ubridge, yeah. Yep.
So ubridge is in charge of interconnecting the nodes. So if you connect those two nodes in your project, there will be a small program called ubridge that will be started for this node and this node, and ubridge will take the packets from this node, put it in what we call a UDP tunnel,
yep,
and send the data to the other ubridge instance, which will take those data and send it to this node.
Okay, so I think we discuss this in another video in more detail, but if I had a Docker container running here, it would use a tap interface.
Yes.
On the Docker container. If the Docker container sent an IP packet, that would go through the tap interface, then go into the ubridge tunnel,
which then goes to the ubridge tunnel. Yes.
Oh, okay.
UDP tunnel, I mean.
UDP tunnel. So that goes as the UDP tunnel over here. And if you had like another type of device that used a different type of interface, let's say ESXi, a VNet, the ubridge would push that to the VNet interface onto the Windows client or whatever it is.
Yes. And actually, there's two UDP tunnels.
Okay.
Because there is one for each way.
Oh, so it's unidirectional.
So yeah, unidirectional. So for one UDP tunnel to send to this node and one UDP tunnel to go to the opposite direction.
Okay. That happens automatically, doesn't it?
This is all handled by the server, yes, the GNS3 server and ubridge.
Okay, so we as a client or user, should I say, don't have to do any of that.
No, you don't have to do any of
this. You just drag your devices on, you create the links.
Yes.
So if I had a Ethernet link in GNS3 from this node to this node, that's just happening automatically in the background.
Yes.
And it doesn't. So just to reiterate, this could be a bare metal server, this could be an ESXi server.
As long as you have
IP
connectivity between the two, the UDP tunnel will be created.
That's great. Anything else?
No, I think that's everything.
Yeah, so that's like sort of an overview of the GNS3 architecture. Jeremy, thanks for that.
Yeah, well.
I'll in subsequent videos we'll talk about this in more detail.